Did you know something new is invented every 10 minutes? Join us as we speak to the innovators reinventing our world here on planet Earth and far, far beyond. Welcome to GTWN Now, a podcast brought to you by the Global Telecom Women's Network and sponsored by CMS Global. GTWN Now introduces the movers and the makers at the cutting edge of technology who are committed to keeping us all connected. In each episode, we invite a leading expert to share her experience building life-changing inventions in places and spaces that don't yet exist, and the inspiration they must muster to tackle the impossible. We also ask our guests to share tips, tools, and strategies to reach your own moonshot. I'm your host, Rasali Gitau, founder of Bixi FinTech for Women and Global Telecom Women's Network International Board member. Welcome to GTWN Now. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of GTWN Now, where we spotlight the amazing women on the ground building the technology that connects us all. Today, I am particularly excited to speak with our guest, the formidable Ghada Ahmed Abdul Satar, Senior Director of Business Development, who is responsible for mergers and acquisitions at Ooredoo Group. She's also a fellow board member of the Global Telecom Women's Network. And Ghada and her team are literally bringing on board millions of people with their very first mobile connection across some of the most challenging contexts in the world, including Iraq and Palestine, and making the bottom line make sense. A bit about Ghada. She has over 20 years of experience in the telecom industry. She brings business development, driving digital economy growth, and delivering strong investment returns with a goal to position Qatar as a global digital economy leader. An engineer by training, coupled with her background in investments, she has a proven track record of leading and executing multi-million-dollar mergers and acquisitions on both the sell and buy sides, creating significant value on an international scale. Ghada's extensive experience spans across international markets where she has successfully executed complex strategic investments, contributing to Ooredoo's evolution from a single operator to a global telecom leader. In her current role, Ghada is focused on investments, supporting the acceleration of artificial intelligence, notably generative AI, deployment in Qatar and across Ooredoo's footprint through key partnerships, thereby securing the digital infrastructure to meet the growing demand, advancing international connectivity through subsea cable projects, and the growth of Ooredoo's fintech value. On top of it, Ghada is just an amazing woman, a wonderful speaker. So I am very, very delighted to welcome Ghada to the show.
Well, thanks, Rosalia, for the introduction and for having me. I'm glad to be here. It's been a while as we're trying to do this podcast, and it's taken a while since we're both cross-traveling a lot. I'm glad we're here today to address all the hot topics.
Well, I'm really excited because, as I mentioned in your bio, you work at this phenomenal intersection of frontier markets and M&A. So I'm really excited to kind of get right in and ask its feasibility. So jumping headfirst, something that I think we're both really passionate about and we have in common is that we want to bring life-changing technology to the most challenging markets. And we really want to enable growth in these markets. So I'm really curious to know, how do you see this growth happening? And do you, in your work, think it's driven by financials, or is there a bigger aspiration, a bigger picture to evolve economies where you operate with digital humanism in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think you and I are fortunate to be from the generation that led the internet evolution. And we have seen how it redefined economies, actually, and how it reshaped the life and changed the way we do business. We lived another moment of acceleration with COVID. It's truly fascinating how we are living in an era defined by a profound economic transformation. It's technological, environmental, and social. Every day I see that economic strength and national wealth are becoming more and more multidimensional, integrating social equity driven by digital innovation, sustainability as well. We typically start the year with Davos, the World Economic Forum. We've also had a very successful Qatar Economic Forum, where you had global leaders talking about how to basically unlock the economic prosperity and how to do the transformation. And you hear that, basically digital economy and AI are key themes when it comes to those discussions. Now, this doesn't come from nowhere. Digital economy today contributes around 15% to global GDP, and this is around 16 trillion. AI alone could add up to 20 trillion to world economy, basically transforming industries, enhancing productivity, creating new job opportunities, addressing critical issues as well. AI is becoming more and more a benchmark of national capabilities and national power, marking the next leading edge machines capable of problem solving and driving productivity. Now, this does not only show, the size of the opportunity, but also the responsibilities we have in creating this sustainable growing economy, creating this positive impact on our society. If you look at it as Ooredoo, we are at the heart of this enablement through the investments we do in connectivity and digital infrastructure. Basically, I've been with the telecom industry for 20 years, and I can see how we are really playing a key role in driving and unlocking the potential of the technical evolution. Having said that, that we are headquartered in Qatar. We operate in 9 markets, mainly MENA and Southeast Asia. And we have foreseen this growth, and we understood the responsibilities. So we invested early and wisely, and we continue to do so. We've built strong partnerships in place to help us accelerate this execution. And to be honest, this was the only thing that kept us always ahead of the curve and always driving the evolution and taking the driving seat and the responsibility very well. So you look at it from, AI-driven and empowered data centers, providing sovereign cloud to local demand and services across borders, to subsea cable international connectivity, to content, to fintech platforms. These are the very key building blocks of economic growth as they touch every sector, from manufacturing, energy, financial, health, education, you name it. And as a result, this creates this environment where it attracts the right investments in the countries where we operate. And that's definitely reflects into their economies and then health economics. For instance, I'll give you an example, and I know it's dear to your heart. So this is financial services, digital financial services and fintech, but not from the inclusion perspective or the access, just from an enhancement of capital market, and investment flows, giving simple access to simplistic investment tools, asset management, cross-border payments. This immediately reflects into every country that we operate in terms of GDP. I read an article this morning. It was talking about how digital finance can enhance emerging economies by 3.7 trillion. These are like serious big numbers, and you don't want to miss the opportunity. I mean, imagine Wallet, which is our Ooredoo fintech arm. Imagine if it operates in countries like Tunisia and Algeria. Those are very much underbanked populations. Just having the access to those financial capabilities, it's just an opportunity lost. I mean, it really does have an impact on their economies. I recall that you wanted me to touch base on the challenges, and they are painful. To be honest with you, we've always been living those challenges. It's always when you have a big agenda that you have great challenges. And when we talk about unlocking the economic potential, we're looking at investments, big investments like data center, international connectivity. Those are multi-billions of dollars investments. So the biggest challenge is the size of the investment actually, and the fact that it is not a short-term return; it's long-term. So you need to think of that. We typically, partnership with the key stakeholders to share risk and return for those to rationalize those investments. Given that those also are big projects, it's a matter of timeline of deployment. Those typically take around 18 to 24 months. Couple that with the shortage on talent, it's quite a challenging to steer, and you need a bigger picture support and an ecosystem to enable that change. Um, One element is on valuation, and this is basically when it comes to the aspect of AI application. Those
Mm,
are the
mm,
smaller private equity or private companies trying to, evolve and create, new applications and new use cases. Most of it maybe not proven yet. Most of it still not been tested. People don't realize the potential, the maximum potential of it. To do valuations and to participate in rounds of funds and all, it's quite tricky, and you end up making a leap of faith, hoping that your risk and return equation balances out. It's quite challenging. So it's a big transformation and so strategic that the private sector will not. I mean, basically they will struggle without the orchestration and alignment of government strategies and fiscal policies. Else, even the most promising investments won't see the light because basically they don't make economic sense. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've seen a lot of initiatives and good projects and awareness across where we operate and abroad as well, beyond our footprints. It's quite good, but to me, humble view, it sounds like driving at 100 kilometer per hour, which is
mm,
quite still fast. But this is a Formula One moment for technological transformation.
mm,
So if you're not four times the speed, it's really going to be challenging. And you're most probably going to be left out or behind. I mean, and we have seen during COVID the companies that could not evolve and move with the pace, they were actually left behind and they could not make economic sense and they couldn't survive basically. So it's very important to have the right focus, uh, the right uh, the right speed, the right long-term view, and having humanity at the heart of your decision making as well. On the aspect of humanity and digital humanism, which is the key topic for the Global Telecom Women Network this year. Look, I know I come from the investment world where it's all about value maximization and value creation, but it's not just for the short term, it's also long term. And I am a true believer that financial returns and humanity and human capital development go hand in hand together. And the moment we all realize that, the more we will commit to responsible investments where you have humanity at the heart of the decision making. Now, this does not just, it's not slogans to carry. This will really have business resilience, and enhance profitability long term, and it will change people's life. This notion of global economy and economic development that is technocentric needs to be a little bit into the human-centric approach in order for value to crystallize. And believe me, Rosalia, when I say it's all about leadership and how you drive the aspiration. I personally am very, very proud of our Emir, His Highness the Emir of Qatar, as he's an inspiring role model when it comes to fostering innovation, collaboration, humanity, building the bridges for a brighter economic prosperity. His vision is always rooted to a responsible investment where the future generation wealth, sustainability is at the heart of it. And it does make a difference when we operate, and this is the mindset that we invest and work with. It's really add value.
mm.
So I hope this I hope this answered your question.
I mean, you definitely answered the question, but you definitely gave me more questions to ask. I had a couple of insights into what you said. I thought a couple of insightful things that you mentioned. You talked about it at the kind of, you know, the question effectively was, is it about the money or is it about something else? And I love how you juxtaposed, well, social changes and economic growth kind of are flip sides of the same coin to some extent. It wasn't just a juxtaposition. It's like there is a symbiosis that goes with them. And I think that lends itself really it's not even not that is effectively what digital humanism, I think, at the heart of it is, as opposed to here are these binaries. It's either something is socially good or something is economically feasible, and how do we reconcile them? I mean, you're effectively saying that they are one and the same thing, at least, in the work that you do, and that you have to take both of them into account, particularly for the sustainability aspect. I thought that was also really interesting because, particularly in the context of data centers, we're hearing a lot about data centers and the environmental costs to them, and how the sharing of freshwater resources is starting to come a little bit to a head with local communities, right? And by excluding them from these conversations, you're compromising the sustainability of the data center in and of itself, right? So that would be a really concrete example of, this, it's not a slogan. It's not kumbaya to do inclusion. It's actually rather smart, or else you're going to find that your data center isn't going to get built, or no one's sharing the fresh water, with your data center. So I think that's really
Absolutely.
interesting. Um, you also, you analogize this idea of like fast and slow. I can play, there's so much talk around AI. There's so much money being thrown at AI, right? You sometimes get the impression it's spaghetti on walls, which, by the way, is in of itself an investment strategy. So, it's a lot of institutional investors say, I'll do 100 companies and one's going to make it, right? Spaghetti on a wall to some extent.
Yeah,
What's
to
your
that point,
investment
actually,
strategy? Is it spaghetti on, it's not, not
no.
necessarily spaghetti on a wall, but it's like, we'll invest in 100 and one's going to hit. And then you also mentioned 100 kilometers, 400 kilometers. Where are you in your speed?
We are at 500, so we're five times the speed.
So the
I think,
spaghetti is
yeah.
really getting.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think what we do is we really are focused, and yes, we do realize that things will not always return on the spot. So
Yeah.
there are things that you invest in for the long term, healthy, sustainable growth. So we are willing to take, a short term hit, because we are building for something, futuristic that will be sustainable. Back to the subject of spaghetti, I'll tell you what, to be honest, and it strikes me how when this whole AI theme, let's call it exploded,
Yeah.
you get calls and you get interaction with everyone, and everybody is like, we want AI, just get us AI, we need
Just get
AI,
us
the
the AI.
organization needs exactly, we need AI. It's very little where you find someone who really knows what they want to do with it, and to what extent it can support them, and what are they trying to achieve it. I mean, everyone is for sure looking for, efficiencies and financial gains and all, but it's truly, once you realize that it's an investment for the future, it's you really are going to at some point take a painful steps to achieve and get to the bigger objective. It's very hard, because it's very hard to walk people through the painful process, as you need to do this. It's a learning process. You need to do it step by step. And I encourage everyone to do the learn. It's important to move fast, but also with proper education and proper awareness of what you're trying to achieve and how you're gonna achieve it. There are solutions all over the place, but unless you know what you want to do with it, it's really hard. And this is what we're trying to do as well with our end customers and our partners and stakeholders, is proper education, proper letting know what's the extent of the value that they can generate and what needs to be done in order for them to achieve that. It's quite a journey, to be honest, and everybody takes a responsibility for one element of it. And definitely, when you want AI, you need to understand what you want to do with it. So that's a very important element.
Well, we'll
And we're
stay
here to
tuned.
help. And we're here to help you also understand and get where you want to be. And this is also partially our role. We support and we show people what the world can look like once they have this on board.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So 500 kilometers an hour.
Yep.
Got it. Keep a couple of people in mind and
Yeah.
know what you want out of it. I remember, it's very analogous. Do you remember the crypto craze around 2016? It was like every company's like, we have to have a token. And it
Exactly.
was like, well, what's your token for? And, and it didn't matter. You just had to have one. I think there is a place, though, sometimes for leaps of faith, as you mentioned earlier. If you build it, they will come. Because now, funnily enough, in the post-token craze, 10 years later, it, certain legislation has passed such that a lot of companies now are, those who made their tokens, now it's kind of coming into fruition. So I think you're right. I think there is this, try and get as educated as possible while still running ahead of the pack and having a little bit of faith in the process. Which kind of, takes me to my next question. So recently, I had, the great honor of being invited to the MENA FinTech conference, which Ooredoo hosted, and it was in Doha. And I think one thing that really struck me was how much the word inclusion was thrown around at the event. I feel like that phraseology has really kind of has become rather unpopular as of recent. But every single C-suite person just kept mentioning it. And I thought, what is going on here? So it really seemed to be kind of at the DNA of your work. I mean, considering it's considered a little bit, against the grain right now, but it was the top line talking point of every single person on stage. What is that about? Why is inclusion so important to the work that you and your colleagues are doing and fintech colleagues in Doha are doing and in the Middle East? What is that all about?
Look, I think it's quite simple. So this is inclusion is a very core part of our values. We see inclusion beyond infrastructure. When we cultivate inclusion, innovation flourishes, and you actually achieve the desired economic transformation that you're looking for. I personally see inclusion as the very fabric of innovation. And the moment, and the numbers prove it. I mean, I don't need to quote hundreds of articles that I read of how much inclusion reflects into your numbers actually, and how the economic growth and the percentages goes. It's quite, for me, it's quite proven, self-proven. Um, to tackle the actual inclusion perspective, you need to tackle key issues, and there are many to tackle inclusion. Perhaps I would maybe touch base on few that I believe unlock the rest of the challenges to achieve proper inclusion. And on top of them would be the connectivity and access to
Hmm.
technology. And this is where also you play, and I know it's a dear subject to your heart. Uh, I'll tell you a story. I was on a flight to London recently, and throughout the whole flight, I managed to have online meetings without any latency. People can hear me on the spot, no delays, no nothing. And it was multiple meetings and with international parties from all across the world. I felt super, effective and efficient, managing to do that on a flight where historically we used to count this as a downtime. It was stressful when you are in the middle of a negotiation, but it was a relief, to be on a flight and disconnected. So it
I
has
have to
both
admit, I'm
sides
on
of
the
it.
latter side. I definitely still consider it.
Exactly.
Nobody can find
So
me. I get some of my best
I'm on a
actual
flight, yeah,
work done on
exactly.
airplanes because nobody can
Exactly.
find me.
Exactly. So it has its both sides of the story, but to be honest, it was so efficient, and having the thought that this could go away or I may not have access to it at some
Mhm.
point creates a question mark. We have defined a new term of work from aircraft. Now it's been compromised or it's not there. And if you imagine that until today, 2.6 billion of people are not connected.
Yeah, that's
That's
insane.
that's a mass. That's insane. That's a
Yeah.
massive opportunity loss and inclusion loss, and a lot of creativity and innovation not being, addressed and
Okay.
captured. That's quite crazy. So, and when you talk about, also financial services, not for rural areas or people or are not even having power supply to their countries, which is again, it's a crazy thing to think of. Uh, that's again an opportunity loss, and you need to ensure as much as you can being inclusive in order to capture that value and create the sustainable outcome. It only results in good things for the community and for the economies that we build. So that's quite significant when it comes to connectivity and ensuring people have access. Even when you think of um, people with special needs, and you give them access to technology and customer care centers and applications. That's massive. And again, when you don't, it's an opportunity lost. Um, so that's mainly on the connectivity and the access to technology. When you move ahead, there's this let's call it skills gap and human capital development to cope up with the technology and what can be the potential. Um, for that, I have a big faith in the future youth for reshaping the future and building the future that we are looking for. Uh, I hope that we move them from job seekers to job creators. That's quite a challenging journey to go through. And again, this is again one of the values that we have is to educate and enable the community, to also improve the literacy when it comes to technology. That's a core element. When it's addressed, the inclusion becomes, more doable. Moving forward, I think one of the also key aspects to inclusion is the safety and the security of sovereign data. Uh, you need to feel comfortable and you trust the process when you are dealing with your financial information, personal information. You need to feel that you have the regulatory framework that does not leave you exposed. So these, I believe, are the very key on top of the list issues and matters that, if resolved, a lot of the inclusion hurdle will be eliminated, if I may say.
It's really interesting. You're one of the first people that I have interviewed in a long time who has brought up safety and security of data. Not since around 2018 when, GDPR was top of mind. I feel like this is just post-COVID. People are like, oh, well, the assumption is all our data's out there. So, and the AI like machines are eating it all up anyway. So, what's the difference? Can I ask you to maybe indulge me? Why do you think safety and security of data would help with inclusion?
It's very quite simple. I have a lot of friends and family that want to use a certain application or want exposed to a certain perhaps opportunity because they don't feel comfortable about sharing their personal data on that platform or on that application or that in itself, and because of also what they hear and what they see, and perhaps in some jurisdiction it's not as maybe tight and comforting as other jurisdictions. So that kind of disconnect is where people are not included. And I think and I believe if they have that comfort, they would participate. A lot of people don't. I mean, when we as a telco operator provide fintech services, you have already gained the trust of a
Yeah,
customer who
yeah,
is
yeah,
on your
yeah, yeah.
network and knows that you're dealing with their personal information and it's
Yeah,
secure, and they provide this environment of safety that they are comfortable to use your application, as
yeah,
opposed to someone else who's coming from a different angle and providing similar services.
yeah, yeah,
Same
yeah,
thing as for the data center. So we have Synthis, which is our data center arm. It provides, the safe environment for people to have their data stored, exchanged, processed. Um, that kind of inclusion where
yeah.
it's not if it's not there, people will be reluctant to use it.
I think you're entirely right. I love how you kind of phrased it, you contextualize it with people that you know. I'm one of these people. There's things that I don't, you know, I work in tech. And it's conversely, it's because I know I don't have the sovereignty of data and I know where it goes because I work in tech. Um, this notion of, you know, like you said, this concept of data sovereignty has really been pushed aside, but I think it needs to rise right back to the fore. Because it's not just a matter of, oh, new people who've been excluded need to have that sense of comfort. Those of us who've been perhaps overly included are a little exhausted by the status quo as well. So there does need to be a little bit of a conversation about the ownership of our data. I can't believe even myself, it's just kind of we just assumed that that conversation was over, but it's maybe something that should re kickstart again. That's really interesting. Can you tell me now what, from your perspective, what really excites you in the world of technology? So one thing that really excites me, I work in fintech and I love fintech, I love inclusion, but something that just gets me so excited is everything that's happening in space. And I'm a person that allows myself to follow my curiosity. And my curiosity um, I've always been interested in that, but of course I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer. And in following this curiosity, but I do financial inclusion for frontier markets. And ultimately having to work with satellite connectors, you know, satellite providers has offered me this phenomenal backdoor into the world of space that, you know, really just excites me. And then, of course, that has brought me into so many other areas of what's happening in space technology. So that just gets me really excited. What is exciting to you right now that just, you know, keeps you hopeful about humanity?
Actually, a lot, to be honest with you. There's a
Okay.
lot going on. I would say more of AI. To be honest, we haven't seen the maximum potential of
Not
what
even
AI
close.
can do. And
Yeah.
now yeah, not even close. And we're looking at physical AI where decisions and processes are built on physical senses. So that's also another dimension of capabilities where AI can play. So that's, I think, still the potential is there. Maybe on the long term, I'm very excited about quantum computing and what it can do to drug discoveries. I'm interested also in
Mm.
similar to you, space technologies. You can call it also 3D printing and virtual reality, those things. And again, 3D printing is not limited to one aspect of,
Yeah.
it's a very wide scope and spectrum of things that can be done from prosthetic, limbs, and
Yeah.
it's quite fascinating what can be done. Still, I think there's a lot to commercialize those, but we are close to those who are developing and undertaking the research and the business modeling and all. And it's quite fascinating what can be done, and what can be achieved.
You have a lot of exciting interests.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what. So what I'm not concerned about is I'm not concerned about like robots getting grog at all. I mean, very frankly, and I hear a lot of people around us, being skeptical about these things. But what really is concerning is what we do with those technologies. How we employ them for humanity.
Mm.
Again, drug discoveries, researches. For God's sake, bringing power to countries where they don't have those facilities, finding the solution for those critical humanitarian issues, um, finding solutions for people with challenges and potentially, solving bigger
Mm.
problems, not using it for a geopolitical, conflicts where you raise
Mm.
barriers and you're not serving humanity actually. So these are the key things I think that are
Yeah.
on
I
top of my
think
head when it comes to concerns.
I agree. I'm less concerned about, a Terminator situation. And I'm more imminently concerned at the use of, chat GPT on LinkedIn. So everyone's LinkedIn posts are just robots speaking to each other. That's my more
Mhm.
imminent concern. Kind of gauging the authenticity of human
Yeah,
sentiment online now because it's so easy to use a tool to convey our sentiments. But yeah, not quite the robots taking over just yet. Um,
yeah,
that being said, you have all of these interests, and they're not none of these are superfluous interests. These are actually all in the process of being realized. Like quantum computing is happening, like 3D printing of, artificial prosthetics. That's happening. The commercial ability is the issue right now. Even space is that's happening. It's
yes,
all about, commercial possible
absolutely.
challenges, right? Um, what would you say are your top three pieces of advice for maybe commercializing what is seemingly uncommerciable? I know that's a slight deviation, but I think that, given your background, this is what you do. You make it make dollar sense to take on challenging places and challenging new frontiers for, older industries. How do you make commercial sense for things that are, for lack of a better term, moonshots, right? Like if somebody's an entrepreneur today for some of these frontier technologies, what would you say is like three pieces of advice to get it commercial?
Look, I think this goes back to the size of the agenda. This is not one company that will solve it. This is the entire ecosystem supporting each other. This is
Mm,
from government strategies, fiscal policies, making sure
mm,
that all the stakeholders who are concerned about this are involved. You hear about ESG now, which is it's a big element for all the corporation, but it goes beyond ESG.
mm,
It's truly. I'm a big believer that this is a national agenda when you have the funds aligned with the objective, with the purpose, you tend to support the right implementation. I think it also goes to the owners of those initiatives to reach out to the right people and to reach out to the key stakeholders that will move the needle for them.
mhm.
Uh, we look at governments today, majority of them have allocated funds for similar,
Yeah.
revolutionary technologies or revolutionary initiatives. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's a matter of really approaching the right people and connecting the right heads together. Uh, then commercialization will happen and
Mm,
things will see the light in terms of economic. And even if it doesn't, for the short term, again, long term, it creates value for the nation.
hmm. So, like most entrepreneurs, stop focusing on your product so much, go outside and network with the right people. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and, and and then maybe you could also, given your experience in capitalizing and commercializing frontier markets, what are three top pieces for advice for private sector actors who want to operate in frontier markets? You'd mentioned some challenges, but what are three things concretely that they can do to realize success in really challenging markets?
Mm. I think really understand the dynamics of the landscape deeply. So know what you're doing, know the dynamics, uh, understand the moving needle elements. That's quite important, and you will be surprised that not a lot of people understand deeply how the dynamic goes, and this is where things start to drop. Um, I think I would say also build a very strong, high-performing team that gets you there no matter what happens, and strong partnerships, internationally and locally. That's
Mm,
quite key. I would say move fast, think long term, have humanity as the center of your decisions. This will definitely create an impact for sure. It may take time. It may be painful process.
Mm.
It could be a start of something that will eventually evolve, but it's always a successful recipe.
I love that. Can you say that again? Move fast, put
Think
humanity
long
at the
term.
center. Yeah, move fast, think long term, and put humanity at the center. I
Absolutely.
like it. That I think we just found the title of the show. Move fast, think long term, and put humanity at the center. Great way to end. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ghada, and I look forward to seeing you at our next GTWN board meeting in Barcelona.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you, Rosalia. And maybe final remarks is really, really, truly, collaboration is not an option. It's not no longer a luxury. It's really important and key for things to materialize. There's a lot happening in Qatar and in the region, and collaboration will always create value for all the contributors. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. I want to thank our guest for joining today's episode of GTWN Now, and give a big thank you to our sponsors, CMS Global, for making this episode possible. Today's podcast will be available on our website, gtwn.org, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when new episodes drop. I'm your host, Rosalia Gitau, GTWN International Board Member, wishing you a week of wonder.